Sheriff Clifford, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Hi, man.
Yeah.
Man, I'm doing good. Today's been a long day,
Yeah.
and it's capped off so perfectly with you coming in. I needed
We'll
this cup of
see.
coffee and a laugh so bad. Listen, last time you and I spoke, we talked a lot about, there was misunderstandings about many things, essentially what the purview of the Ada County Sheriff is as it pertains to, immigration status and things of that nature. Talk to me about where we are with that, because there has been a lot of concern in especially agricultural states like Idaho about like these large ICE raids and people getting really stressed that, oh my gosh, like the sheriff's out there scooping people up, or like ICE is bringing school buses and grabbing people. What's actually happening in Ada County?
Yeah. So what's really ironic is in Ada County, there's not been that much change. I think we're just one of those places in the country where there's not as much focus because there are a lot of other places that have bigger clusters of illegal immigrants that are also criminals, right? So,
which is a distinction, civil
correct.
versus criminal.
Correct.
Right?
Big
you
deal.
cross the border into the United States, that's a civil crime.
Yes.
You assault somebody, that's a criminal charge, right? So yes, the articulation is clear. Hey, if somebody entered the United States illegally, they broke a law. Yes, that's fine. That's not something you can charge them with, though.
Right. So what I get a lot of questions about is, well, what does it look like for us to cooperate with ICE? I've had people say, you need to stop cooperating from ICE over here. And I've had people over here say, you need to do more with ICE. And I have an easy answer for it is, well, we've worked with ICE before this new administration, and now we do work with them a little bit closer, but the mission hasn't changed. When they find someone that has criminal warrants or is a criminal suspect, and they say, hey, we got a bead on this guy, he's an illegal, can you help us go and arrest him? Yeah. Because he's wanted, or he's got some kind of criminal thing going on, and that's public safety. That's what our name of the game is for us, right?
Right.
So
public safety within Ada County.
Correct.
Like you can't take over the entire state. You
right.
care about public safety within the borders of your jurisdiction.
Right. So the big question, another big question we get is, well, are these illegals overrunning your jail? That's not how it works, right? So right now, I can't remember what it is today, but let's say there's 50 people in the Ada County Jail with a ICE detainer on them. Okay. All that means is, hey, this guy got arrested for something, and he's on ICE's radar, but he has criminal charges locally here. Let's just say, burglary. We'll just call it burglary. Right. Okay. So he gets arrested for burglary. He's in the Ada County Jail. Either we figure it out or ICE figures out, because we give them a list of everybody that's gotten booked in for the day. It just automatically goes to them. Something that we set up.
Great.
Before Trump became president. It makes their job easier if say, hey, listen, this is all public information anyway, so here's a list of them, so you don't have to comb through the website every day.
Yeah.
And so here it is.
They can just set up an alert on their end if they want.
Look in your database.
Sure.
And if it's somebody you want to put a detainer on them, you can put the detainer on. But they're here for burglary, so you don't get to take them until they're done with their local charges. And then once they're done with the local charges, they come get them, take them to an ICE facility.
Gotcha. And that's the ICE detainer.
Correct.
Got it.
Right. So the detainer lets us hold them for a short period of time so they can come get them and transport them elsewhere. So it's not a matter of, oh, I showed up here with a big van load of illegals and now we need to book them into the jail. You can't.
That's the opposite of what happens. Like
pretty much. We go get them.
Yeah.
We go get them, and
ICE takes them away.
Correct. Yep. And we go get them on a criminal charge, or we find them on a criminal charge. Once in a while in the field, we'll recognize maybe somebody might not be illegal and contact ICE. In the jail, sometimes we might recognize just because of the questions we ask them when they get booked into jail. But the information that we provide to ICE a lot of times leads to, oh, we've been looking for this fella. Let's let Ada County know we need a detainer on him. Okay, he's here. His burglary, he's served 3 months or something. They brought it down to petty theft. He served, 2 weeks or something. And so he's getting out on this day. So come pick him up. And it's as simple as that. But both sides of the fence, people that are all for ICE working as hard as they can and people who are all for ICE working as little as they can, I think they both are. They don't understand that.
Both are mad at you.
Yeah, they both like. Why aren't you working? Like we've worked with ICE forever. It's just now they have more resources than they did before, and more ability to, perform their jobs.
So the accusation from people saying, why weren't you doing more beforehand? It's like, we've always been doing what we've been doing.
Yep.
And for the people saying you're out there scooping people up, you're like, nope. We've always been doing what we've been doing,
Correct.
which is trying to keep public safety paramount in Ada County.
Yep.
And if somebody breaks the law in Ada County, public safety, we arrest them, we charge them, we deal with that. We let ICE know every day, everybody we bring in.
Every single day.
That's it. And your number one goal is public safety. So for people saying you're going to like Home Depot to arrest random people, that's also not true unless somebody called the cops because there was like shoplifting
Correct.
or there was like somebody got in a fight. And then, yes, you will go to the Home Depot to address the assault charges.
Correct. And honestly, try and get that message to our legitimate immigrant population has been kind of tough, right? Because there's so much misinformation. And what I'm finding is it's always well, my aunt saw a thing on the internet that her friend put of this thing that's happening. Like, no, don't believe that. You need to go to the source, and find what the real information is. Cause it's just, a lot of people are just uninformed. And if it's not your everyday life, I mean, I get it, but don't believe what you read on the internet. Go to the source, and it's, the answers I have from people are simple. They really are simple. And that's what sheriffs all over Idaho do.
So bottom line is people saying, hey, look, these people are the potentially illegal immigrants are worried about going to work because they're afraid they're going to get scooped up by the sheriff. To be clear, that is not something Ada County Sheriff does or has ever done.
No, correct. Now, if you are an illegal and you've committed a crime, or if you're illegal and you've been deported and come back and deported, ICE probably going to have their eye on you. If you're one of those people that really should not be here because of any nefarious things you're doing, you should probably be worried. But right now, especially, ICE is focusing on criminals. They really are. Their focus is on criminals. And hey, we're going to go find these people that are a public safety threat and address those. And that's what they've been focusing on.
Man, these are wild times.
I tell
this
you,
is stuff. And I'm not going to ask you to make comment.
Social media.
I know. I was telling somebody today, and don't say anything about it when I say this out loud, but I was telling somebody today about the number of social media videos I saw with people walking up to law enforcement being like, I know somebody breaking the law. And she's at City Hall and she's flying a flag and you need to go arrest her. And I was blown because I was trying to get a couple attorneys on to explain, look, when you make a law, there's like recourse, right? You get a speeding ticket. If I'm going 5 miles or 10 miles over the speed limit, you're probably not going to arrest me and throw me in jail for like a year because you can't really do that. Like the recourse is a ticket, right? You get a ticket. If I'm going 1 mile over, I don't even know if you can write a ticket for 1 mile and over, but the judge would high probability throw that out, wouldn't they? Probably. Great. And like if I'm going the exact speed limit, you cannot write me. It's like there are all of these recourses and established ways of engaging in law enforcement. And it's like, listen, if there's no ticket, if there's no arrest, if there's no jail, like you can't do anything. You have to have there has to be a don't do this or else. And if there's no or else, if it's just don't do this, you don't have the force of like the Ada County Sheriff to go like detain somebody.
Right. And when all that was going on, it was aggravating. Listen, I tried to explain to people that I can't enforce a law that's not enforceable. That's just
there's no or else.
Not how that works, and so we got a lot of calls into the dispatch center about that. And it's funny because I've talked to some of the, legislators. They're like, I don't understand how this affects you even. I'm like, because I'm the sheriff in the county where the city is that this is happening and people expect me to do something. And you've written a law where you can't do anything. So thanks a lot. Right. Like, I mean,
it quite literally has to have a punishable by clause in it, right?
Yeah.
Punishable by $10,000 fine, punishable by like up to 6 months in jail, punishable by anything. It's literally like punishable by NA.
And it really needs to spell out like who's responsible here, because am I supposed to go arrest the custodian that comes in the morning and puts the flag up? I mean, like, boy, Roger sure is a nice guy. He tries hard. You just do what he's told.
Yeah,
Well, sorry,
right.
Roger, you're going to jail. Like, so there's got to be some descriptor in there that not just, hey, you're not allowed.
Man.
Okay, but what if, right?
But what if? Gosh, the nuances of like who's responsible for what, man. What a wild time.
Yeah.
There was also you guys, excuse me, not you guys, but the law enforcement agencies this last legislative session also tried to run a bill that would have prevented people with felonies on their records from running for sheriff in, counties in Idaho, correct? Explain this to me.
So, and we've had this discussion before.
Yeah.
And was it this session or the last session?
We definitely didn't talk last session. This is the first one that I really covered.
Okay. And because when we tried to run the bill,
gotcha.
I think it was not this last January, the one before, but yeah, in Idaho, to be the sheriff, all you have to do is be 21 and a resident of the county. And especially me, I believe that, yeah, if you're going to be a felon, you should probably not be the chief law enforcement officer. If you are a decertified law enforcement officer, you should probably not be the chief law enforcement officer. And the example I always use is, if you had that gentleman Caldwell who's federally indicted, federal prison, can't be a cop anywhere in America ever, but he can be the sheriff in Idaho. And I think that's silly. So, but we really didn't get a lot of support for trying to change that. And we got some people that barked down that it was unconstitutional to not allow someone to run for the office just because they were a felon. But I think that also is where you find that some miscommunication there of, what does this job entail, right? So let's say, Bobby Jones gets arrested. Right. He's a felon, and he wins the Ada County Sheriff election. Well, there are parts of the building, like the sheriff's office building, where Bobby Jones isn't going to be allowed because he's a felon, because he has to have these, federal certifications to go into these places where there's people's personal information, sure. And it's just very protected information. So how's ergonomically, how does that work to have a sheriff that can't go to parts of his building? But people don't think about that. And I think we probably should focus on some more of that of like, okay, if you're a decertified officer, you probably shouldn't be the person that's representing the public as the chief law enforcement officer. So,
there's a large criticism of my former state, I think justifiably, that it, went through a very bad time of not supporting law enforcement. You saw large representations of the BLM movement there, where there was a huge anti-law enforcement sentiment. And again, that is 100% true. Mm-hmm. People did act that way. They did say those things. City council people did engage that type of ordinance and funding cuts and stuff. I have family members that experienced it firsthand working in law enforcement. It was atrocious. It was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And because of that, the coastal states in particular have a reputation of being very anti-law enforcement. Okay, great. That's established. Idaho doesn't, but it doesn't, it's not all in either. It's like, okay, we're not that, but we're also not entirely happy with law enforcement. We like them that they exist kind of, but we don't want to fund their jails or their salaries. So we're kind of in sentiment, we'll send you a card, maybe, but we're not actually going to set you up for functional operational successes with, whatever the ask may be.
Yeah.
What do you think that pushback in Idaho is kind of like Idaho's version of defund the police, and that they don't actually want to? I mean, I had a conversation just this morning with the Payette County Sheriff. Mm-hmm. Okay. And Sheriff Creech. Really enjoy him. Second time I had him on the show. He was outlining all of these. He's like, we have a jail. I mean, tiny compared to the Ada County jail, but he was like, we have a jail that was built in the 70s. And now we are the capacity is 60 something. He's like, we are regularly at the 80 mark. And that's only because we're letting out low level felons on, what is it? Pretrial bail?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Pretrial release.
Yeah. It wasn't bail, pretrial release. I was like, wait a minute. You're literally letting out people that are charged with felonies and just saying, please come back for your trial because you don't have a place to put them. He's like, that's right. Like, this is why I moved out of my former state. Like, they were doing this in like, this was crazy. That kind of stuff is really sneaking in here.
It is. And I think I have theory. When we saw a lot of the defund the police and a lot of those movements that came out of, the coastal states and other places in America, you're right. That didn't happen here. I mean, we had an outpouring of support,
Yes.
People bringing in baked goods and, hey, my kids made you this sign, all those things. But I think it also brought to light how expensive law enforcement really is and what we pay for it, because it's expensive. I mean, it just is. And that sentiment, I think, doesn't sit well because we're a very conservative state, and that means we're fiscally conservative. And that means that when something's expensive, we don't like it, right? Now, I'm not saying that they don't like law enforcement because it's expensive, but they don't like that it's expensive. So, hey, I feel great that I can call 911 and someone's going to show up.
Maybe because we haven't upgraded the 911 system.
Yeah.
So when you call from your cell phone, they don't even know where you are.
Yeah.
These are the problems, Sheriff.
So that's, I get this, especially kind of this last legislative session. I was kind of exhausted with hey, we back the blue and hey, we really respect what you guys do. But sorry, that sounds expensive. So I don't know. I'm a little bit biased, but hey, I'm willing to write a check to make sure that I'm going to get service when there's an emergency at my home. And I can't help how expensive it is. And here's the analogy I use, right? Because what happens is you show people like, hey, this is the bill for what it costs to run an agency, pay a law enforcement officer, train a law enforcement, equip law enforcement, all of those. Well, they don't like the number. It's expensive, but I can't control the number. It's just like if you said, hey, my roof is leaking and there's water dripping. All right, well, you're going to have to fix your roof. So what do? You go get bids, right? All right, so I went and I got 3 bids. I don't like any of them. Too bad. Like, you don't, okay, then invest in buckets because I don't know what to tell you. Okay, it's cheaper. We're just going to buy Home Depot buckets because it's cheaper. Or if that's the way you want to live, I guess, is a bunch of buckets of water in your house catching the rain. It's not something that we necessarily get to control. There's a market for wages. There's a price for law enforcement equipment. It's no different from firemen. I mean, people can control how price of fire trucks because it's made for one specific purpose, right? So a fire truck costs what a fire truck costs, and it's the same in law enforcement. Training costs what it costs, and the equipment costs what it costs. And if you try and cut corners, guess what? You get crap equipment and crap training, and then you get crap service. So I get it because it is expensive, but I really think kind of America's eyes got open to like, oh my gosh, this costs a lot of money. It does. It's public safety. If you don't want to pay for it, then don't. But don't come running when there's not enough people to come to your calls or you get somebody that shows up that's incompetent or doesn't have the tools they need. I don't want to have to pay more for stuff either, but it's the leaky roof thing. I just got to pay whatever a roof costs unless I want water in my house.
With that in mind, the cost of, I did not come from politics. And so I'm always shocked when things happen and I'm like, wow, I had no idea that people run, they spent $10,000 to run a campaign for like this thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, for what purpose? It's like, you get $500 a year. Why would somebody want to be that thing? Why would somebody invest $10,000 into a political campaign for a job that doesn't pay anything? Like, doesn't make sense to me, but I guess, again, in the political world, it's out there. Right. But you have that kind of thing happening in sheriff's races as well, right? Like and almost, it appears to be anti-law enforcement and sentiment individuals that are attempting to gain access to law enforcement establishments through the sheriff's election.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that going on, and it's kind of, there's a couple sides to it. So one of it is this, decertified officer side, right? So that if you've been decertified in Idaho, if you can win a sheriff election, well, hey, you're back in the game, right? For whatever reason, whether it's nefarious or I just need a job. And even though I'm not qualified to do this and the, standards of the state of Idaho said I'm not able to do it, this gives me an in. The other part of that too is some of the more extremists that we've seen that try and infiltrate these elections when they say, okay, well, yeah, it might not even be really an anti-law enforcement, but almost like an anti-law sentiment of like, well, I don't like that drugs are illegal. I don't like that, that you can stop my car and not tell me where I can and can't go. They don't like those things and try and infiltrate it. Now, my opinion is if you were to be elected sheriff and chaos ensues, it's going to be like CHOP in downtown Seattle of like, we don't need laws and government or anything. And so they shut everything down. What's the first thing they did?
They established a protective force, didn't they? And
yes,
built walls.
They did. They established a security force of people that didn't know what they were doing. There's this cool article.
We shouldn't laugh. We shouldn't. Didn't people die? Didn't people die?
No,
there was like stabbing.
No, it was horrible
and stuff. It was terrible.
Yeah, because they established this security force that doesn't have any equipment or education.
Know-how,
They don't know. And I read an article. It was this amazing article that they interviewed these guys that basically they gave up. They said, this is crazy. We don't know what we're doing here. This is like a cop's job. Oh, really?
Kick the cops. That's funny. You kicked them out.
Yeah. And so it kind of shows you what chaos can ensue when you decide, hey, our society has decided these things as a group. Through our republic, we have decided we're going to have these rules and laws to create safety and promote prosperity, all these things. And when you decide, you know what, this group over here doesn't like that, so we're not going to participate. Well, you're going to learn a lesson most likely because, I've heard a lot of stories about people trying to create utopias and things like that. Well, it almost never works. Well, it never works. It
has never worked in the history.
It never works because most of those utopias they try to establish it with a lack of structure and just hey, everybody's just peace, love, and harmony, and we're all good to go because that's, of course, human beings that they'll never turn on each other, right?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, you do see some the kind of those two sides, and I'm not saying that everybody runs against an actual sheriff is a bad person.
Oh, of course not.
Of course not. But there's definitely some sects of hey, the anti-law or law enforcement movement or the decertified, here's my chance to get back in and I'll show them type thing.
Man, that's intense. I'm 99% sure there were a slew of lawsuits against the city of Seattle for CHOP from property owners that were like, you let my property get destroyed. You didn't do your, legal obligation to protect my life and property. Like I'm not wrong in that, right? Like
you're correct. Yeah. So, and I saw one in Portland because same type of issue, right? Where, this lady who built a jewelry business, like legitimate, moved here with nothing, created this business, and it's in downtown Portland. And because, there was no support for the police and hey, the city wouldn't allow them to do their jobs basically. And she sued, I don't know what the outcome is, but she sued the city and said, this is my life's work. Everything I have is in here. And I have an expectation to remain safe with my business here. And now it's everything's been looted and it's all boarded up. I'll never be able to reopen again because you just let chaos ensue.
Yeah, that's terrible stuff. I know this is kind of random and probably not your purview, but the bill that just passed regarding the camping ordinance, that's a charge that's being taken up by city police departments, right? So that's not, I'm sure you guys would assist if need be, but like, that's not something that directly affects you guys, right?
It doesn't, because I think it's directed specifically at
to
city.
The actual departments. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't affect us that much. It'll affect me because of the jail.
Gotcha.
Now I haven't seen, I'm not aware of a big uptick that we've seen in people being arrested for camping.
Sure.
Yeah, it won't affect us as far as our patrol capacities unless there's assistance is needed. And I haven't talked to Boise actually to see how that's going. I'm not sure if they're having success or not, but in the county, it's a little bit different when the municipalities that we provide services for and the county, there's not as much for people out outside of Boise or Meridian City. So they tend not to come out and congregate and camp. Now we do get them, that sometimes it happens, especially down along the river, but we do a pretty good job of removing the camps.
Sure.
And I think on the last one, we actually decided, all right, well, we could give you a shot here, right? So you can't have all this garbage down here, and you can't stay here. It's there's trash everywhere. So we actually posted a notice, and the deputies did an amazing job. Posted a notice and said, hey, here's the deal. We're coming back in 3 days. So please clean up all this stuff. And if there are your belongings here, take those as well. But you can't
stay here.
You can't stay here. And so they came back in 3 days, and then the deputies worked with other agencies that cleaned up all the trash, and off they went. So there's a way to do it and not be too intrusive, I guess, on people's lives. but they have to know, like, you can't. There's also a difference between pitching a tent and bringing garbage and polluting the area.
Oh, sure.
Which that's what attracts attention. Right. So they get attention. Well, I mean, that's how this business is, right? Somebody, either a cop or a citizen, goes, so something's going on over here, and that's how this business works.
I dig. Listen, I know today is a working day. Talk to me about the golf tournament that's coming up. Now, mind you, I did see a lot of golf tournaments happen, and I love hearing about them. I'm a terrible golfer there, so I went to the Eagle Chamber of Commerce golf tournament, which was awesome, and the Orville, the Eagle, was there. I also saw Chief Ruby. He was there. Nice. I'm like, hey man, how are you? We ended up chatting a bunch in line. By the way, do you have a different episode for a different day? Somebody that can come in and talk about the nuances of e-bikes, and because e-bikes are everywhere, and there are apparently like 3 different categories of e-bikes, like pedal assist versus not. And then you essentially get to like the 12-year-old just driving an electric motorcycle around, and like, that's all bad. Like, we don't have to talk about it. I remember I was just chatting with Chief Ruby about it. Yeah. I forgot to follow up. Anyway, it's my bad. Anyway, but you have a golf tournament coming up.
I do. Okay. So my annual, I think it's my third or fourth annual
Get it together,
Sheriff's
man.
Cup.
Come on.
I know. But my Sheriff's Cup is coming up on the September 22nd. And it is, it's raising money for my pack, my Back to Blue pack. And I set up that pack for a lot of reasons that we talked about here, as far as, trying to assist sheriffs and other local law enforcement related elections, like maybe prosecutor or things like that, and assist them with keeping decertified people out and extremists out. I looked at the elections around Idaho this last year. 3 sheriffs had opponents that were decertified. And we had a couple sheriffs that had some people with extreme views that really don't represent law enforcement at all. And some of those sheriffs, they live in smaller communities where they don't really have a lot of ability to raise money. And so this pack will help them and help Ada County as well, try and keep good people in these elected positions. And it'll do a lot to support local law enforcement as well, to make sure that we can advocate for good equipment, good training, good wages, things like that. So I set that up last year because I looked around and said, there's got to be a way to help people get past because when you're in an election and you're pointing at somebody and going, I'm good, he's bad. I'm good, he's bad. That only gets you so far. So I think this is a way to help those folks have a little bit more of a voice to go, listen, here's what the real story is. This is why I'm much more qualified for this job, and this person is either not qualified at all, or is been decertified, or lacks experience, something like that. I mean, helps give them the ability to move that forward. And
did you did the golf tournament last year for this pack as well?
My golf tournament last year was kind of a dual type deal. So gotcha. I raised some money for my campaign.
Oh, look at
and
you.
Then raised some money for the pack and part of the tournament to
gotcha.
Get it some seed money in it. Excuse me.
My God, man.
I know. Good Lord.
How many people came to the tournament last year? How many? Is it like a 70-person tournament?
No, No,
No?
yeah, well, yeah, it's way over that because there's usually 30 teams. So that's
Oh my God. Who has the time for these things?
man, people have time for golf.
I don't understand.
I know. I love to play golf. I am horrible at it.
You do?
But I do. But
You love to play golf.
the only problem is I get like 10 holes into it, and I look like how much longer?
How much longer do we have?
Because I mean, it's an all day event,
my
right? You know,
God.
especially when you go to these tournaments, because you're like, okay, so we're gonna play golf. There's going to be a little thing in the morning, and then we're going to all, there's going to shotgun start. We're going to play golf. We're going to play golf all day, and then we're going to eat like a really late lunch, and then you got to stick around for the raffle. And so you get home at like, you show up at 7:30, 8 o'clock,
You're
and you
home
get
at
home
like 3.
like no, or if you about
No.
5 or 6, man. Like, oh my gosh, and you just wiped out. And like, it's been in the sun all day, swinging a
No,
club
man.
and. So,
No, I listen, I've only tried to play golf 3 times.
Yeah.
And each time got worse and worse. Like I had beginner's luck the first time, right? And I was like, then finally I'm like, I don't know what we're doing here. Like my wife and I went to a water polo tournament in Rigby this summer. Okay. She was on the A team, by the way. I was
Nice.
on the B team.
okay.
She's a monster and they won. It was great. But we played 9 games in between 2 days. Like, so I'm not just in the sun. I'm literally swimming in the middle of a lake in a water polo tank, like going back and forth. I had more energy at the end of those days than I did coming off the golf course. I'm like, I want to die. And there's something about like, you're like doing something, but you're not doing anything
Right.
at the same time. Like if it were a war of like I was a rower, if it's a war of attrition, it's like, you're going to take 2,000 swings today. Like I'm going to row the boat.
Yeah.
2,000 strokes. Like I could get into that, but this is like, nah,
Yeah.
hit it.
This is about
I'm on my 35th ball.
as
I can't.
laid back a sport as you could get. And golf really, my opinion, again, I'm not an avid golfer. I do like to do it. I'm horrible, but it is definitely like, hey, let's get a couple of buddies and just go away from
buddies.
the world for a minute, right? Like that's
a minute.
Yeah,
A day.
yeah. Seriously, all day.
And then like the thing that blew me away is they got the cart person that comes around. They're like, "Do you guys want some more beers?" And I'm like, what the hell is this, man?
I
And my
know.
friends, like the first time I went, so I go with a buddy, and it's literally like he invites me. He's got his in-laws. He's like, "You want to come golfing?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." They weren't big drinkers. I'm like, "Okay." So I'm here and you just like play and whatever. And I go home. I'm like, okay, so it's kind of like driving jet skis all around a lawn. Like that's because my wife was like, how was it? I'm like, I don't know what happened, but like, it was kind of fun driving the carts. Like it was kind of cool being outside. The second time I go, it was no in-laws, no like brother-in-laws. It was just the buddies.
Yeah.
And it's 9 a.m. in the morning and everybody starts by grabbing a 6-pack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what are you doing? And they're like, can I rent the bag? So then now you get these like ice bags.
Yep.
And I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And literally I was like, is this for like the whole cart? They're like, no, get yours. I'm like, get a 6-pack? It's 9 a.m.
I've always said
And then they're like, refill.
there are 2 places where it seems
my
like
God.
time doesn't matter or what time of the day it is. And that's golf and like the tropics, right? People don't pay attention to what time it is. Like you're not supposed to be drinking that for breakfast, right? Like
I thought you were going to say Vegas.
yeah, that's a whole
Golfing in Vegas has got to be like the Twilight Zone.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
But anyway, so your tournament goes to supporting just general support for law enforcement, back in the blue, helping existing sheriffs or law enforcement people articulate like, look, this is my experience, this is who I am, so on and so forth.
Yep. And I really want to kind of, I mean, right now we're just starting. We have a little bit of money, but I do want to elevate that into, advocating for good law enforcement equipment and training and wages, whatever that means. I don't know if that means lobbying or whatever. But I think, your show is a good example of how you can kind of get like, here's what really happens behind the scenes. Here's what this really means. I mean, it's when you're talking about law enforcement, we're the most noticeable piece of government at all. I mean, like I always make the joke, and there's nothing against the assessor, but they're making movies and TV shows about the county assessor. They're not, they're not doing things like that. They're not making like, city councilman movies. They don't. They make movies about cops because it's interesting and you can do all kinds of fun and crazy things, but it brings this sense of, no, I've seen what you do on TV. Like, no, you have no idea. You have no idea what goes on in the background and the energy and money it takes just to make sure that person's doing their job. And this is a good platform for that, but I'd like that PAC to kind of help unpack that. No pun intended. Unpack that as well of, this is what needs to come to light so you make sure you have good quality law enforcement in your community.
Yeah. Yeah. Understanding that. And again, I feel like I say this every day. I used to have an idea of what I thought law enforcement was, of what I thought agriculture was, of what I thought, forestry was, all of these different things. And as I've had the great benefit of having the show, understanding in a more realistic manner, it's like, no, man, like this is what we have to go through, and this is what we do, and this is how we're interacted with in the community, and all of those things. It's like, wow, that's a really valuable thing to understand.
I think way back to when we did, I don't know how many years ago that was, the contract policing one.
Yeah.
Right. Like
that was, it seems like forever ago. Right? I think it was like August of 23. Yeah. We're almost exactly 2 years ago. Yeah.
Jeez, it seems like a long time ago.
Doesn't it?
But that was, I really liked that episode because that was like, listen, let me unpack this for you and explain how this actually works. Because whether you're in your community that's policed by contract policing or not, you really need to understand, like, okay, what's the benefit? But how does this go? Right. And I think, keeping it simple and saying, this is the process. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, I see. Yeah, that's what that means. And I think that was helpful for the public.
Yeah. Yeah. That episode blew up. That was one of the first ones where a lot of people watched. Also the episode when I realized I had to get rid of the armchairs.
Oh my gosh. I talked about that the other day, and I'm like sitting there and I looked and I'm like, I got to look and see what these comments are. And one of them was like, you need to sit up. I thought, I am sitting up, man. That chair is awful.
I listened to the people. Plus, there was nowhere to put like a coffee. Right? So you're like sitting there. And you're like, what do I do with this drink? Listen, I'm learning, man. I don't know what I'm doing. I appreciate that. Anyway, listen, Sheriff, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate all the things you helped me understand, specifically with, look, what is a sheriff here to do and what they're not here to do? Obviously there's so much asked of the sheriff's department. So much, I think there was a county commissioner candidate years ago that was like, I'm going to have the sheriff act in a different way. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not the sheriff's purview. Like, we all want more, or we all want you to act in the ways, but like, this is my job. And I think that's at the heart of upholding your constitutional obligation, not overstep, understanding what you can and can't affect, and letting the rest of it go, which is like, look, it's not my purview to go outside of the county. It's not my ability to infringe on people's rights, right? Like, I can't do that stuff. I have to uphold the law as it's written, whether or not I like it. And understanding the nuances of that and how that plays out in contemporary examples in the Treasure Valley, I think is just really important.
It is. And I think it's fair also, to be fair, I guess, to say sometimes those people that are like, hey, man, when I get in here, I'm going to stick it to the man, right? I'm going to win this election, or I'm going to get into this position, and I'm going to tear this place down. And some people get in and realize, oh, there are processes here in place for a reason, so people don't get hurt, or we don't get sued, or we don't, all kinds of things. And so sometimes those people have an epiphany of like, oh yeah, like, we can't burn the house down because then it's a problem. So I think to be fair, sometimes that happens as well. So other times, you're battling with them for years until, if they happen to get in. But I think people of Idaho and Ada County, I think we don't hear them that much from the majority of people that live here. We hear a lot from, people that are just a little bit louder, but they're smaller groups. But I think the majority of voters in Ada County, they understand what they want. They see their need, and they realize kind of what the right thing to do is. Now, some people vote really weird, just because. I had a guy come up and tell me, I'm not going to lie, I voted for you because we have the same name. That's seriously that happened. That's not a good idea.
Name recognition.
That is not a good idea. Just because we're both named Matt doesn't mean I'm a good sheriff. Right? So, but I think that the voters are, most of them understand.
Yeah. And again, I think there is plenty of space for people to disagree, even if they're like, listen, I understand your position. I just disagree with you. Like, that's fine too. But let's all just have the information, right? Let's not mince words. Like, let's agree on the facts as they stand, and then let people make their position known and in the voting booth. But let's just all establish reality first.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the trick.
What's the trick?
What's reality?
Oh my God, we can't do this right now. God bless you. Sheriff, thank you for coming in. Let's do it again.
Thanks for having me.